Hey guys, it's Dani. Today we're gonna take care of this Zygopetalum that I just received from my viewer Tina. Now if you missed that video and would like to see it, I'll share it in the description of this video. One of the orchids that she sent to me was a division of her Zygopetalum orchid, which is actually a pretty old orchid in her collection. So this here is just one of the divisions and it's already very unruly. If I were to pot this orchid, I would immediately run out of space. Because we have a pickle here. This is an orchid which doesn't have too many roots right now, that is okay, but we cannot put it in a very big container. Also, I wouldn't necessarily put it in a very wide but shallow container, and that's just a personal preference, and I have to think about my shelves and a good location for this orchid. What I will do though is divide in a way this orchid and pot it together so that I can actually use a comfortable pot for me, one suitable for orchids, and just keep all of the divisions in the same pot. So I will take you along today and see how we go about this orchid. And while we're at it, I will actually mention a few more options that you have with this orchid because there are quite a few ways to go about something like this depending on your preference and your possibilities. So that said, let's just get started. Now, as you guys might know, setups for orchids can actually differ and some are better than others depending on the person, environment, and possibilities, of course. Now, I will opt for a pot because that's what works greatest with my lifestyle, my possibilities, my climate, and so on and so forth. But you can actually opt for other setups. If we look at this orchid, we can see that it's actually spreading on a horizontal level, if you will. So it's not hard to imagine that if we find a piece of wood or slab big enough to sustain all of this orchid, we can actually mount it. If you have the climate for it and very mild winters, you can even put it on a tree. But we have to think about the orchid we're dealing with here. This apparently is a Zygopetalum. Even though it doesn't look that way, we have very thin roots, and to me it looks like a Miltonia, but I think Tina knows better. So being that it is a Zygopetalum, which is notorious for liking things damp, in my climate, I would really consider not opting for a demanding setup. Mounting will be a very easy solution, but it will also be a hassle in the long term for me. Mounted orchids usually require watering every day, sometimes multiple times a day. If you don't have a sprinkler system or other types of automated systems, you will have to water it by hand through soaking or spraying or whatever method you want. Bottom line, you will have to make sure this orchid receives water. And being that it's a Zygopetalum, I'm not entirely sure how many of us will be very comfortable in a home environment watering and soaking this orchid once or twice a day to meet its watering needs. So I think you can see for this orchid and for me, mounting is not an option, but for some of you and maybe with other types of orchids, an unruly orchid which has multiple directions of growth in multiple directions actually, mounting can actually be a solution and it's an easy fix. Let's call it like that if you're okay with the maintenance. As I was saying, another way to go about something like this is to even mount it on a tree. However, this will work with epiphytic orchids. Being that I don't have any background on this Zygopetalum, I don't have a tag, I don't know what's in its parentage. We might actually have some epiphytic Zygopetalums, but we might actually have some terrestrial zygos or subspecies of the zygo, like we encountered with my other Zygopetalum, which we repotted. Check the description down below, I'll add the video there. So I'm not sure if this is a semi-terrestrial, epiphytic, terrestrial, I don't know what it is. If I mount it, I might actually not have a good time. My suspicion is that it is one of the epiphytic ones because we have such thin roots, which are still okay after several days being unpotted. But hey, it's something to consider, and definitely with pure terrestrial orchids, I would not put them on the trees. And also definitely if you have pretty coldish winters, I would not do so because in the winter time you would have to remove it from the tree. That would break the roots. It's not a good idea. And then finally, of course, you have the pot option. But the problem is you have to find a pot which will fit the entire orchid if you don't want to only keep a part of it. And you can opt for something rather shallow. But then again, Zygopetalums are not known for their shallow roots, so if it were a bulbophyllum, maybe it would work, but if you're dealing with an orchid which you know does not have shallow roots, a shallow white pot might not be the best solution. It might get overcrowded with roots very fast, but with some orchids, absolutely you can consider a shallow wider pot. And if you run out of ideas and you're not okay with any of these suggestions, well, maybe you should consider doing what I will do today, meaning I will split the orchid in a few sections, which then I will be able to arrange how I want in the pot and just pot it up in a normal orchid pot. So with that said, I'm gonna go sterilize my tools and I'll come back to make some divisions. Now, when making orchid divisions, we need to have a few things in mind. First of all, it would be great if we can have one active growth per division, especially when we're dealing with these types of orchids which have multiple directions of growth. So in my case, I will try to make sure that my divisions, which I believe will be 3, all have an active growth point. And second, I will try to follow the rule of 3 pseudobulbs. Each division should have at least 3 pseudobulbs which are storing nutrients and moisture. In this way, we are giving the new growth enough energy to grow normally and not be set back. So let's just really take a close look at my orchid. I think I can see that this here in the back can definitely be separated from the entire plant from here. And we do actually have 3 pseudobulbs formed. We have this, and this. Here we had a new growth which sadly was broken in transport, but this is active. There is another eye here which at some point will start to grow, so there is a high chance that I will have active growth here. So let's just go ahead and separate this. I need to cut the actual rhizome, not the pseudobulb, so never cut here. This is very bad because you're going to cut the base of the pseudobulb. Always look for the rhizome. And in my case, the rhizome is right here. I'm not cutting into any pseudobulb, but rather the connection between them. And as you can see, the cut is in the rhizome, not in the base of the pseudobulb. If you would see green here, it wouldn't be a very good thing to see. And on this side, I think we can actually make a division right here, and we will be left with 4 pseudobulb on this side and quite a few more on this side. So I think this is a good place to cut. Now, one thing I'm noticing with my divisions is a purple ring around the rhizome. This is, according to articles, a sign of infestation with a fungus called Fusarium. I'll link it down below to more information about it, my videos on it. 3 years ago, there was quite a panic here in my growth space. I'm not gonna go into it, I'm just gonna link you to the videos down below and to articles that explain the formation of this purple ring as the toxins released by the fungus. What I would like to add to that whole story is that I'm not a fan of fungicides, and you might know I don't use them. I did not use fungicides on my Fusarium infected orchids, and the ones which were robust made it, and they're absolutely fine to this day. They're performing great. New orchids that I purchase, sometimes I do see the purple ring. I am pretty much done with the chapter on Fusarium, and since I'm not using fungicides, all I can do is make sure that the orchids are not stressed and that they have the best life they can have. And many of them perform better than non-infected orchids. So that's all I have to say on Fusarium. I do believe orchids can deal with this infection on their own, or they can live with it as long as conditions are not stressful and they do receive the care and culture they need. I personally find that everything is okay. And if you know me, you know that my main concern with my collection is hygiene. I never share water. I always disinfect surfaces and tools and things of the sorts. I use gloves. I am pretty focused on hygiene, so I don't believe I am favoring the spreading of this disease. And in the 3 years that I have been observing my orchids, I cannot say that it is something which will wipe out my entire collection, but if stress comes on my collection, if I'm not careful, yes, these orchids will just be much more sensitive. I think this is the reason why I lost so many orchids, overall half of my collection ever since I came here due to this disease. So let's not panic over it. I decided to just not panic over it anymore and just deal with the situation, treat it the best way that I know how to. And it's working out for me just great, but do research it yourself, read the articles that I'm sharing with you in the description, and take the decision for yourself. Alrighty, the pot we're gonna use is a typical 15 centimeter orchid pot. I think it's about 6 inches. As you can see, I already pre-made some ventilation holes. Even though this orchid might be semi-terrestrial, I'm always more comfortable when I have some extra ventilation in the pot. And the medium that we're gonna use is my so-called terrestrial mix. I'm going to be mixing a few materials, such as sphagnum moss, a bit of LECA, and bark. I will also be adding some crushed seashells, and with that said, let's start. I always like to start with a layer of sphagnum moss at the bottom, because this will prevent water just sitting on the tray or inside the decorative pot. If I would use a non-absorbent material such as bark at the bottom, that water will just pool there and will not be absorbed in the medium. If I put moss though, and I make sure that inside this medium I will mix moss so that it always kind of touches each other, well, I will create a sort of wicking mechanism. The water that will be in the tray when we water will be sucked up by the moss and delivered to the entire mix. And in my climate, which is rather warm, it actually works pretty well. Alrighty, so just before I place my bark layer as the top layer, I want to stop and try to arrange my orchids in the pot. As you can see, I don't have pretty much any roots. I do have roots, but they're very, very shallow. So making these orchids sit will be a bit of a hassle, but it will not be impossible. My main concern is to offer space in the pot. So I will identify where the new growth is going to be. So it's in this direction, and here is the old growth, and I will place the orchid with the new growth towards the center of the pot, and the old growth, which will not sprout anything most probably, towards the side. So here is one division which I'm just going to lay on the sphagnum moss. With this division, again, the new growth will come from this side of the plant, and this is a very, very old part of the plant. There we go, looks better. Again, I will make sure to place this part towards the edge of the pot and leave the new side of the orchid towards the middle. Okay, so I fussed a little bit with the orchid, and I think this is the best position I can arrange it in. All the growths are facing inwards, so that's good. The only problematic area is this one. Hopefully this pseudobulb will not start to grow here, but rather there. But hey, we're just gonna have to wait and see. So this is not the final layer. The final layer will be bark. I am choosing a bark top layer just to minimize algae formation, which here in my area will happen quite a lot. So now I'm just going to put bark on top. This will further stabilize my orchid. So let's just go ahead and do that really fast. And here we are, we're all done. The only thing that's left is to give this orchid a good watering. I never actually let orchids dry after I repot them. And here we are, this is the mix. As you can see, we have a pretty airy mix, but also pretty water retentive, which should do just great for my climate. And considering the experience with the other Zygopetalum, I do believe it's gonna be great. This guy will sit in the grow space, he's not going outside, it's way too hot for him. And I think that's about it. I shall keep you up to date. I'm so incredibly curious to see this plant in bloom because it absolutely does not look like a Zygopetalum, and it's coming from a very old plant. It's special. So very, very curious. I will let you guys know when I will have flowers, of course. And thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you learned something new, and you know the drill. Like or dislike this video, subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, Q&As, other fun orchid subjects. And if you like to support the channel, do consider visiting the merch store down below. With that said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!